welcome to Floyd Models. Today we're going to be building Revell's Easy Kit 153 scale AT-AT Walker. Now it's going to be a two-parter, so in part one we're just basically going to put it together, and in part two we're going to be painting it and weathering it. So let's get on with it. Okay, so we've got all the parts out. Now we're expecting Dragon in the near future to release a 35th scale version of this thing, which is going to be huge and bonkers, hopefully highly detailed and all the rest of it. But for the moment, this should make up quite a nice kit. Now it is pre-painted. No, it's not. It's awful. Somebody's gone around it with a brush and put streaking on it. So we are going to repaint this in part two. So don't take any notice of how this looks at the moment. We can do a lot with this one. But looking at the parts generally, they seem to be pretty good. It is an easy kit, so it's snap tight fit and all the rest of it. But we can always come in with a little bit of filler and gluing and everything as is required to really bring this one up to date. So starting off with, in our little booklet, we've actually starting just down here. So it talks about bringing these two parts out. Which are these? Okay, so we're just going to snip these off the sprue. And as I say, we can use glue where is required, or we can just go for the snap tight fit. Luckily for us, this is a bit like building a tank or a ship, as in painting wise we can do it as a whole. There isn't many windows on it and things like that which we need to adjust and take off and things like that. So we've got both parts down on here. Cleanup is the usual thing. So if you're using like a medium sander, or if you want to use some sort of skinny type sanders, things like that, absolutely fine. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a tab down on there, so we're just going to give them a light sand, nothing huge. Okay, just to slightly improve the fit and everything else as we work our way around. Okay, and what we're going to be doing, because these are technically snap fit kits or easy kits, the locating pins are going to be very big, but to be honest, in this scale and doing this type of modeling, it's not so much of a problem. Okay, these big chunks have got like a hex on them, which makes them all join together nicely. All right, so this guy, when it comes in, pushes in, and as we can see, we've got a little bit of movement around here, but I don't think it's too bad at all. Okay, so what we can do is we can say, right, okay, well I'm happy with that, but from our point of view we're going to use a little bit of glue, and just for speed on this one we're going to be using Tamiya's quick set cement, but you could obviously use anything you like. Okay, so what we're going to do is just push it, flatten it out with my finger, get a good join on this as we can see here, and then we're just going to come in, I'm just going to pop the glue in, and we're just going to let it seep, roll, and we're not too worried about over gluing and everything else like that, because it is just that thing of getting this guy together. And once it's in and we're happy, we just give it a little bit more of a nudge just around here. Now the reason I'm gluing this one is, to be honest, the fit isn't the best, so by gluing it we'll just enable it to pinch tighter and be a little bit more, but you can see I'm not being very nice or gentle with it. We can get away with it. Once it's in there and starts to eat a little bit, it's melting the plastic, we can just give it a bit of a squeeze and we can come. Because we haven't got anywhere near our fingers near it, we'll be absolutely fine. Now later on, if you wanted to, you could obviously cut this in, reshape it, rejoin it and all the bits and pieces like that. But from our point of view, we are quite happy of how that is. All right, so we can just leave that off to one side. Next off down here, it's talking about number 3, which is down here in the chin. Okay, so we're just going to remove that from the sprue. Okay, so for this I'm using Citadel's sprue cutters, which I actually quite like. So remember, always cut to the level part. So we just remove that from the sprue, and again using a skinny stick we can just get in here and make no real damage anywhere else. Remember, when you're sanding, don't push, just let the stick do all the work. And this is a fine one, it's a medium one, and as you can see it cleans it off with no problem at all. So we're just going to do this one exactly the same way. Okay, and then just down on this edge, I'm just going to sand it a little bit and just take the edge off of that, just to make it a little bit more of a nicer fit, and the same on the other side. So again, let the sander do the work. Don't be pushing down on your sander, because all you're going to be doing is putting heavier scratches into your plastic, which are going to leave more marks a little bit later on when we come into the painting stage. Okay, so there we go. We've got a little bit of flash business going down in here. So to be honest, what we're going to do, we're going to cut over to a sponge. So we've got a sponge here, and we're just going to lightly rub and because it is a sponge, it will slightly wrap around and it smooths out any problems. To be honest, we haven't really got any on here, but I'm just going to give it a rub anyway, just to do it. Okay, so that's our under section that we've got here. All right, so then we've got the two guns. Now these are the big cannons underneath. So these again have been painted, to be honest, done in this darker colour. Now I believe these are probably sprayed on the sprue, which means we're going to have a tab mark afterwards, which we're probably going to want to have to take care of, which isn't so much of a problem, because these will be a push fit for the moment, and then what we can do is obviously come out, but what we need to do is just tidy these up. So again, coming in with a sponge, very lightly, just going over the top, just to round it off. Okay, it stops it getting a flat spot like this. Okay, and on this side. Alright, and then round up here. As you can see, we've got it's a panel line runs through the middle of this stroke seam line. Okay, so we're not too worried about it. So for this point of view, we'll just speed this up, take out this little tab, and up here, and as I said again, we're going to repaint all of this in episode 2. Okay, so if you want to, you can just follow this one. Episode 1, we're going to talk about getting this guy together. Episode 2, we're going to talk about painting and weathering it. Okay, so that goes in, and then these will come up underneath. And again, these are literally a push fit and a snap fit right the way through. They're quite secure. It might be a bit of trouble getting these out, but to be honest, we can always redo these afterwards. Again, that's those in and done, simply just like that. Okay, so next up we've got number 3 down here, so we're going to need number 8 off of these. Okay, which is this guy, just making sure. I'm just going to cut these off. Those come out, and we need this bar, which is this guy just here. Okay, so it really doesn't need much sort of cleaning up there. Then what's going to happen is these are going to be the turrets which are going to be on the side. So again, we're just going to come in with our medium sander, and we're just going to sand this top, just so we can take out that seam right the way across there. And we're just going to need to take out this one under here, and again, just in case we've got a seam running underneath. Okay, one. And again. Underside, let's go at the top. Okay, that's those done. And again, these are going to be a push, so we're definitely not going to glue these because we might want to take these off afterwards. Now the thing is, these are extremely stiff, and I think this is going to be a one-way trick for when this goes on. Okay, but the point to these is they are slightly offset as well, so that's a little bit weird. I thought they would be totally the same, but as you can see, we are offset angles. So if you wanted to, you're going to have to reset those. So what we're going to need is the top of the head, or the turret, I suppose it would be. So again, just chopping these off. Again, tidy these up. And then depending on your skill, to be honest, I have bought a couple of these, and I'm thinking about putting an LED lighting kit inside one. purely so it gives us a lit interior. Okay, and we can have a lit cockpit, so to speak, and things like that. Okay. Really good on all of those. Okay, so that is in here, and then we've obviously got these guys, which we've got the smaller turrets are going to go to the bottom, and it's going to go in here. Now, if you wanted to, you could cut this and have them as a push-in fit. It's going to be purely how you want to do it. Depends if you want it moving or not. That will be your decision. Okay. At the same time, we've got the neck area, so the pin doesn't matter, I suppose, if it goes up or down. These are a mirror copy of each other. Okay, so I'm thinking it's probably going to be this way then. Are we thinking? No, it is the pin that goes forward. Okay, so it's going to be a working type neck on these. So the next part we need up here is number 9. So here's number 9. Okay. Rip these off the sprue. Again, just taking care of these tabs. It's a little job, but it just makes everything fit nicer and smoother and easier. But again, just always let the sander do the work. Don't push on it. Okay, let it do all the cutting and the digging, and that way you'll make less marks. Okay, so this guy is going to come in, I assume, a little bit like that, and that is going to be our downward face. So he is going to push into the inside, so we're just checking. Not the best fit under here. I'm wondering if we got a little bit of off of that. So that is going to fit in here. So then what we're going to do, touch. We'll let the glue do all the work. So all we're doing is touching, let it go in, bit of a push, bit of a nudge, and we can physically hold it into that position so it bites, and there we go. We've got rid of the gaps because it welds over. Then final touch, a little bit more glue right over everything just to seal it in, and then some glue on the inside just to make sure it's all around there and doing its bit. Okay, that's fine. Okay, over to the other side. So we're going to be actually putting the two halves together. So we've got this neck system as it fits in here. So we're assuming these are big and small. Or does it not matter? There is definitely a difference between the two, but it's not showing it on here. I think we'll put this one on here just because it's easier to line all of this up. This guy is going to go in here, and then we've got these 2 feet down the bottom here. I've got to fit in these slots under here. So what we're going to try and do is halfway put this together. Just make sure you've got all 4 pins in, so we're just working on that neck one. Back one, front one, side one. Okay. Now, as we can see, we've got quite a gap running around this front. Okay, so this will probably be a filler job a little bit at the end. So what we're going to do, we're going to leave it at those to the end, and then we're going to come around and we will use it as a filler job. But you can see the neck is working, and that is our first stage into our turret. But as you can see, we're going to need to take care of that. There's a couple of things we can do with that. What we're going to do is get them together, and then we'll deal with it all at the end. But there we go, that's the head section done. Really nice. Okay, so next up we've got the body. So we've got the 2 halves of body here, which is fair enough, but we are going to need the bottom. Or is it the top? No, it's the top actually. So we've got the top section here, and we're going to need the rear of the walker, which is this plate just down in here, which is number 15. Okay, so we're just going to snip this guy off. Snip this guy off. And again, this is really just for putting it together. We are going to revisit this kit, and we are going to do some things to it. We're going to do some correction work. This is really just a test for me to see how this guy goes together. Is it worth putting all the effort in of modifying it, bringing it totally up to Walker spec, and everything else like that. So this is really just to see how this all goes in. As I said, a little bit later on, I do intend to come back to this kit and just to see how it all goes. Alright, so this is going to fit down in there, and it is pretty much a good push fit in there like that. But again, because it's structural, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a tap of glue. Doesn't need glue, any of this. The reason I'm gluing it is just to, one, help hold everything together, and secondly, just to give us a little bit more structural resistance. Okay, so we're making sure we've got our lefts and rights on here, and what we've got is the slots that are going to run down. This is literally going to plug in and going to go in here. So what we're doing is we're just making sure we have the right tops and bottoms to the various areas as this goes in, and I'm thinking we're okay. So we're just going to plug these pins in down here, these ones at the back. This guy tucks in, there's a little tuck area, and again making sure this pushes all the way in, so it's handy to lay it down on the table and push those home completely. Okay, to get that to physically push in, and that's the side of our walker done just like that. Okay, so a little bit of stuff going around here on the back, but what we're going to do is get it together, then we'll glue it all from the inside. In fact, I could just pop around, I think. Just going to drop of glue just in pins and joins from the inside, just to speed this guy build up just a little bit. Okay, what I'm going to do now is just going to come in. Okay, so we're just making sure we're in everywhere. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to completely seal this entire area with the weld action glue. Okay, so plenty of it, don't be frightened of it. And then what we can do is, once this is all in, we can get in there and start pushing it around. If you wanted to, you could use obviously a thicker glue, any type of glue, but I highly recommend just whipping this around because it's going to fill all the gaps, take care of all the seam lines, all the joins, and absolutely everything on your walker. Okay, so we are coming in from all the areas, all the angles, all the sides. Okay, and then that way these little seals up here and everything else will be able to push and weld, and it will look more like welding. And then obviously for gluing and all those areas like this one along here, we're just going to pop a little bit of glue in as well. Okay, so actually quite happy with that. Alright, so we've also got to fit the head is going to come in underneath this, but I'm pretty sure we can do all of that afterwards. Doesn't look like it has a rotation, so now we can actually do this side. So I'm thinking we're going to place this down, just move some room, and again we're just going to place this on, get some of the things lined up. We're starting at one end, so we're starting at this end here, and then we're coming in, and we're just making sure all those areas are in. So we just come along, push them down. Okay, making sure all of these are in. what we're going to do is just repeat exactly what we did on the other side. So we're just going to come in here and seal up, glue up, weld up the entire halves of it all together. Okay. So you might find it's a little bit easier to glue from the inside, but if you want, obviously you could glue from the outside. You're just making sure this entire thing is together. So obviously if you do it from the outside, we've got these glue lines along here and at the top here, which again I think we're going to be filling and dealing with properly a little bit later on in the build. Before we finish this guy off, we're going to go around and just do a little bit of filler work to get it in there. But there we go, that's the body done. Okay, so now obviously it talks about the head being put in, so the head can go in and it's going to stand upside down, and then we got this part which is the belly of the beast, literally. Okay, and then this guy is going to fit on. Some nice touches and details down in here, so we should be able to do the spread thing because it's all just a little bit wet. Well, we're hoping we'll still be able to do the spread thing. Just easing it slightly apart just to drop this guy in. Okay, so we're just literally easing it apart and then be able to drop this in, and then once we're in we can push, squeeze, manipulate everything back in. And to be honest, it's not exactly brilliant under here, but that's why the glue is all soft, so the neck still works. And we have got some pretty nasty gaps running all around here, but to be honest, we're going to deal with those a little bit later. So what we'll do is we're just going to put it on the side, give it a good nudge just to make sure it's all in. Check your tops, they're all still sealed. And there we go, that's our walker second phase. What we're going to do is weld that guy up. You're not going to see it in there, but from my point of view, I want that gone. Okay, so what I will probably end up doing is clamping this a little bit later on, both sides, and then what we'll do is we'll run glue all the way around. But I will show you all that before we finish. But we're trying to get on with this guy just to show you from an out the box. So we've got a working head, twisting head, okay, and it's pretty good, I must admit, no problem with that at all. Okay, so that's that bit done, which takes us all down in here. Just remember, don't glue the neck, because obviously you won't have a working walker. Okay, next up down here we've got the Pegasus Engines. Sorry, but you know what I mean. These are actually from used to be, I think it was the 1/24 scale Harrier was the originals used, but it is the engines out of the old monogram Revell Harrier. So that's why, if you're thinking those look familiar, that's what that is. So we have two engines which make the lower walker's legs. So I suppose in some ways you'd call it the hips. Okay, so we're just going to whip these out. Sorry, one more engine. So same thing again, we're just going to literally whip around and take out any sprue tab marks. And again, this is just a quick fun build. Normally you would probably take care of all the seals and you could detail this and everything, but that's for another show. Okay. And this guy. Okay, so that's these done, and then we're going to need the ends, which are, I do believe, these guys. That's one end. Okay, just the same. Quick rub. Okay, so we have these two, which are going to take this part. Okay, so this is your number 21, which is this guy just down in here. Okay, that's being pushed in. Okay, and the two rests of the engines are going to push together. Like so. Actually, those don't go together too bad at all. And then basically the same on the other end. You've got the little tooth here. That drops down into the little toothed area. Okay, and then these two halves go together. Okay. Alright, so that's those done. And then same thing again. We're going to whip round just a little bit of glue, because I said after this what I'm going to do, to be honest, is probably slightly deconstruct this guy, and we're going to pop round and going to fill and sand and anything else this guy might need. Okay, so by doing this, it now enables the glue to get in there and weld the areas together. And then we can get in afterwards. You can see you've got quite a heavy seam on this end. Okay, so when we come in to sand, we've got plenty of stuff to sand against. Okay, that's going to bounce a little bit. So we've got some clamps. You could use pegs, rubber bands, whatever you fancy. Do this end. Okay, one. And two. Now those can be drying as we get on with the legs. So the legs, 4 legs, they're up next. So let's start with the pads. Gives you a sense of scale for this guy. We've got the pads, so we're just going to cut all 4 of these out. Again, these are another area where when we do version 2 of this, we will detail, highly detail. In fact, we might make them almost workable, so the pads can actually work. Something I've been looking at is these would be quite easy to cut, shape and pivot. So the actual toes, if you like, the bits that stick out, these will actually move. I think it's going to be quite an easy fix, and we can put a base into these as well. Okay, so that's those, and we're going to need the ankles, so we're just going to snip these guys off. Okay. Those come off, and we're just going to need the tops. Just like this. Okay, that's all of those, and we have got, that's those ones. And whilst we're here, we're just going to pop these guys off as well, because we're just going to need these. So this is your number 26AB, as this works its way across. Okay, and what we're going to do is just going to cut down the sprue just to make it a bit easier, because that sprue is now dead. Okay, so we're just left with that bit now. Okay, so same thing, quick clean up with all of these. Okay, so next up is the legs. Okay, so what we've got down here, we have the foot section, just like this, okay, and then what we've got is this part here, which do the call outs for them. Okay, so what we're actually doing is building these guys here. So we're going to need 4 of them. Okay, so this just literally lays on just like this, and then the 2 pins just go in the top and then clicks down. This gives it a free swinging foot just like that. So obviously you need to make up a few more sets of those. Okay, and then we put on the outer part. So you've got the pin on this side. This is where the activator goes. All right, so that can just fall literally down in there like that. Okay, and then what happens is, so the pin out on the outside of this one falls in here, and the small part, which is this one here, is going to slide over the top. So literally it just goes over the entire foot and push together. So this now can swing and it's got movement, and then all you do is hook this and push it into there, and that just keeps it, it gives it full range of motion, and it makes it look like it's working, even though what you're doing is slipping in and out just like that. Okay, then next up we've got this part here. So this is the piece which we've got, which is this one here. So you've got the holes in at the top, which is number 23. So you've got lots of the 23, and then this guy is literally just going to go. So it is only goes one way together, and you might want to give it a bit of glue around here. To be honest with these, with the other ones, I have done that. I popped around and given them a little bit of glue, and then all that happens, you take one of the pins, and then the teeth go in literally like this. And the way I found the easiest way is just pop this in. Okay, put it in a little bit over to the edge of your table, and then push, and it'll click in. Now it goes rock hard. Okay, then you give it a little bit of movement and it pulls it slightly apart, and this enables it to be posable. Okay, and it will move, and then what you do, just give it another, and it locks it firmly in place and it won't move. But what this enables it to do now is to stand up, and this little bit of resistance here works really well because it will hold it in place, but without it, obviously it just falls over and all the rest of it. And there we go, we need to make up a few more of those. So as you can see on these guys here, we've got another 4 of those done for the lower legs, literally just like that. Okay, so that's those in, and then over on the next page, all we're going to have to do then is do these. Sorry, this is all the other ones done exactly the same way as what we've done before, and then we're over to this part here. So we've got the lower section all going into these points, so this should be nice and dry by now. Okay, and then what we've got is this type of thing going on. So we're just double check, triple check where we are all with these. I think they're all the same. Don't think there's any differences between them. I remember correctly, they are all the same. It looks like they are all the same. And then with these, obviously what we're going to do is just making sure we have got these the right way. These are literally just going to push into the inside of here, and then you've got the little pin just down in here, and that's how it's going to help hold it all in place. Okay, so we're just going to do the same with these two and with these two, and these push in nice and easy, literally just like that. And then we take the body, flip it over, and then we've got obviously this long one is going to go into the rear. Okay, and that's just going to push in. I'm going to fit in, one hopes. There's a little snap tabs just down in here, so just be mindful of those. See, that's the problem. Wrong way around. That was there. Making sure you fit it in the right way. Let's try that again. Okay, try that once again. Okay, and then this guy, legs to the front. And again, click. Double checking, it has to go this way. Again, a little bit of a issue just fitting these in the bottom. Got it. There we go. Big click and lock. That's those in, and then the legs. Going to be a little bit cumbersome to put on because I think the pins have to come in from the inside. No, these actually go outside. Okay, so this is a simple job, putting them in one leg at a time. Okay. Hopefully, and then obviously what we've got to do with this now is just work out the actual proper geometry. So these are obviously slightly lower at the rear, and there we have it. Put the lids on, move this stuff all out of the way, and fantastic, there we have our walker. So what we want to do is just got to position as in real life how it would be. So we want to maneuver the knees and the legs and everything. Okay, exactly how he would be. So there we go. As I say, the great thing about this one is he does lean, pivot, turn, and the head and everything actually goes with him. But there we go, that is him built. Simple, very authentic. Actually, I am a fan of the scale. I think originally when I was looking at this, I was thinking I'm not too sure about this scale, but actually I think this is a really good scale with no problem at all. So there we go. That is our Scout Walker, ATAT Walker, all completely built. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Very much a lovely sort of couple of hours just popping this guy together and everything else. So what we're going to do in part 2 is we're going to pop around, take care of all the seams, all the joins, everything else like that. We're going to put a coat of primer over the entire model, everything else like that. And then we're going to get in and we're going to do some painting and weathering.